We will talk about one of the easiest ways to obtain Spanish nationality, the easiest and fastest, nationality through marriage. So if you don't know what this is, if you have doubts about how it applies, the timing, requirements, documents and more, then this is your video. Stay tuned because you'll leave here knowing it. Let's go! The first thing you need to know is that you have come to the wrong video. You have searched for nationality through marriage, or the topic of nationality through marriage in Spain caught your attention, but that doesn't exist. Nationality through marriage does not exist in Spanish law. Calm down, don't panic. What I mean is that what people know as nationality through marriage is actually nationality through residence with a reduced period for being the spouse of a Spanish citizen. That's right, it's not nationality through marriage, it's nationality through residence using a reduction in the residency period for being the spouse of a Spanish citizen. Clarification made. So now, what does this entail? Well, basically, it's a nationality that requires you to have been in Spain in order to apply for it. That is to say, regarding its requirements, it asks you to have been in Spain with legal residency, meaning with a residence permit issued by the Spanish government. It requires you to have been in Spain, and for that residency to have been continuous, meaning that during the year they will evaluate you, Spain must have remained your permanent and definitive residence. There is usually no specific time limit, but we always recommend not being out of the country for more than 3 months, as this is what the Ministry of Justice typically tolerates. If you exceed that period, there could be problems. That 1-year period will also need to be immediately prior to the nationality application you submit. If you are applying for nationality now, the period should be exactly 1 year back from today and you must be able to prove it. If you have interruptions, it would no longer be considered continuous residence and all the previous time you had for the purpose of applying for nationality would be lost. You are also required to have demonstrated good civic conduct during that 1-year stay in Spain. Likewise, you must have demonstrated good conduct wherever you were before as well. For this, you are required to provide proof of your criminal record, and they also check your criminal record in Spain. But that's not all, because in this specific case of reducing the required legal residence period to apply for nationality by residence to 1 year, they ask for more things to prove that you qualify for this reduction in time. Basically, they ask you to prove the connection with the Spanish citizen, which must be a marriage conducted in Spain, or if it is a marriage conducted abroad, it must already be registered in Spain. We have had cases where the marriage was conducted abroad but is not yet registered in Spain because that registration, the Central Civil Registry of a marriage conducted with a Spaniard abroad, can take more than a year. So there have been cases where the Ministry of Justice does not count that 1-year period until the marriage is registered. What does this do in practice? Well, basically, in many cases where the marriage is between an Ibero-American and a Spaniard, it turns out to be more advantageous, for example, to apply for nationality through the general case of having been in Spain for 2 years rather than going through the route of being a Spanish spouse. This is mainly because, as the registration takes so long, you will probably meet the 2-year requirement in Spain more quickly and can apply for nationality with fewer documents. Considering that the resolution time is the same in both cases, you simply choose the easier route with fewer documents and you can apply right away, presenting it through the general case. In the case of being the spouse of a Spaniard, this is a peculiarity. It is something counterintuitive. It shouldn't be this way. If there is a 1-year period, it is supposed to be for people to benefit, but well, that's how Spanish administrative procedures are, or at least they are punctual, given that the registration of the marriage takes so long that it ends up being more worthwhile to use another scenario that doesn't reduce the time so much, but can be used right away without having to wait for the marriage to be registered to do it. Regarding the accreditation of the relationship, obviously they will also ask you to ensure that the relationship is current, that it is up to date. They will request a certificate of that relationship issued no more than 3 months ago because it obviously needs to be valid. But it doesn't end there. Something extremely important is missing, which is the matter of having lived together. The requirement is not just to have been married to a Spaniard for a year. No, the requirement is to have been in Spain for that year with everything I mentioned about legal residence immediately preceding the application, good civic conduct accrediting the relationship, and in addition having lived with that Spaniard throughout that year. That's why they usually request a historical certificate of registration showing that you have been registered together, you with your Spanish spouse, registered together at the same address, at least for the last year prior to the application. As you can see, this is far from simply marrying a Spaniard and being granted nationality. It's not that simple. Starting with the fact that it is actually nationality by residence and ending with the need to prove all these aspects I just mentioned. How can the application be submitted? Like any application for nationality by residence, it is submitted through the electronic headquarters of the Ministry of Justice. We absolutely and strongly advise against doing it in person. Please do it as only online. use the services of a professional. We ourselves could take care of it, or if not, you can do it yourself if you obtain a digital identity. Follow a series of steps, and surely our channel will have content on how to do it if you wish to go that route, and if you would like us to help you with that application. Additionally, we offer a satisfaction guarantee, according to which if you do not obtain your nationality, you do not pay us $0.01 as long as the denial is not due to anything attributable to you. This basically applies under terms and conditions, but in more than 90% of cases, this guarantee applies. We will tell you more about it when you schedule a consultation, which you can do by clicking the link below to contact us. We will schedule that consultation, which can be with me or a member of our team, and in many cases it is even free, so you have nothing to lose. There, we will outline the best path to your nationality, the best path to your legal residency, and we do it with empathy, professionalism, and the spontaneity that characterizes us. That's why we have hundreds of positive reviews. You can check them out on Google, on Facebook, on our website, wherever you prefer. Continuing, it is submitted there through the electronic headquarters of the Ministry of Justice. Preferably the law states that it can also be done in person, but please do not do it in person. What documents will they ask for? Well, basically the ones required for all nationality applications by residents, which by default always include your complete passport from cover to cover, everything in between, whether it has data or stamps, you have to present it all. All these documents will be scanned, preferably in color with a professional scanner, as professional as you can, using a great machine. If you're going to do it by photos, please be very careful to ensure everything is fully visible, without strange shadows or blurry parts. Be very careful, because the pages of the passports, it's like a watermark. It's not exactly a stamp or something clearly printed on the passport, but rather a kind of watermark. Be very careful that the page numbers are clearly visible, as this is important for the verification done by the Ministry of Justice. Complete passport, criminal record certificate from the countries where you have been in the last 5 years before entering Spain. This certificate will have to be apostilled or legalized in all cases, depending on whether your country is a member of the Hague Convention or not, and if it was issued in a language other than Spanish or a Spanish regional language, then it will also need to be translated. The last one that always goes is the birth certificate. This one can indeed be issued at any time. It does not need to have a minimum validity. I didn't mention it before, but the validity of the criminal record certificate is 3 months by default, unless the document states a different validity. If the document itself states 6 months, then it's 6 months, but if not, they will generally consider it as 3 months. The birth certificate, on the other hand, does not need to have been issued for a minimum time and will need to be the same, apostilled, legalized, depending on the agreement your country is part of. And if it is not issued in Spanish, then it must also be translated. Not translated by an application you find on the internet, it must be translated by a translator authorized by the Spanish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, essentially authorized by the Spanish government. Now let's move on to the documents specific to this category, this requirement of being a Spanish spouse to reduce the time required for legal residents to apply for Spanish nationality. The documents specific to this category include the marriage certificate. Remember that if the marriage was celebrated abroad, it must be registered in Spain, not just have its registration requested. We strongly recommend that this registration is already completed. Historical certificate of residence registration showing that you and your partner have been registered at the same address for at least the last year immediately prior to the application. Birth certificate of your Spanish spouse. This is usually requested by the Ministry of Justice. Your partner's ID should suffice, but for some reason they ask for the birth certificate of your Spanish spouse, so be aware and present it. Usually there is no issue with its validity. It can be issued at any time. It is also advisable to provide your Spanish partner's ID, and that would be all. You provide these specific documents, submit the general documents, and pay the fee. Remember the issue of the exams. If you are not from a Spanish-speaking country, then you will have to take the Spanish exam, at least certify 1, 2, and in all cases, you will have to take a culture exam unless you have graduated from compulsory secondary education in Spain or have an official degree from a higher study, then you will be exempt from both the culture exam and the Spanish as a foreign language exam. You have many videos on our channel about this topic of Spanish nationality. Go take a look at them, and surely there you will resolve all the doubts that arise. And if not, or if you are lazy and don't want to watch them all, then leave us your specific question in the comments. We try to answer all of them, and don't forget, write to us if you want us to handle your case, to guide you to Spanish nationality and accompany you in that process, or with your legal residency. We will also be delighted. Thank you very much for your like. Thank you very much for your comment. Thank you very much for sharing this video with someone who might find it useful. Even though you look good, I still thank you. Thank you very much for subscribing because that is extremely important. There are more specific and detailed videos coming in this nationality series so that you can implement step by step what we tell you and achieve your nationality goal. So subscribe. There are also videos coming about the submission of immigration files, basically residence and work authorization step by step. Subscribe so you don't miss everything that's coming, which will surely be of interest to you, and we'll see you next time. See you later. Here we have the script writer. This is the one who writes all the scripts and adds the fun touches, right?